Hello friends, welcome back to the channel and February's reading vlog. A friend pointed out last month that almost all of the books that I read in January were written by women, and February is no exception. To kick the vlog off, we're going to talk about The Wedding People. This one is by Alison Espach. I think I'm saying her name right. It was one of the most popular books from last year, and it was a Read with Jenna Bush book club pick. I picked this one up. I didn't really even know what it was about, but a lot of other people had been saying it was one of their favorite books of the year, so I decided to check it out. I would say that this is kind of a beach read. It definitely has some sadness in it, but a very good ending, I think. So you could read it on the beach. It won't be terribly mindless reading, but it is a really, really good book and one of my favorites that I have read so far this year. So our main character's name is Phoebe, and she is going through a really rough time in her life. She's had a lot of loss, and she's actually considering checking out of the world herself. So she decides that on her last day on Earth that she wants to stay at the Cornwall Inn. Now this is a big fancy hotel that she's always wanted to stay at and never had a chance to. And when she arrives, she discovers there's a large wedding happening, and everyone at the hotel thinks that she is one of the wedding people or one of the wedding guests. She forms an interesting friendship with the bride. There's a lot of helping each other heal through some different moments in life and different places that they find commonality. I gave this one 4 stars. If I'd been able to sit down and read it all in one sitting, I think it might have been a 5-star read, but I was not able to do that, and there was a couple days in between whenever I put the book down and then was able to pick it back up. So I feel like reading it that way, it really broke up the flow of the book for me, and that is why probably it wasn't quite as enjoyable as it could have been. But I was just not able to sit down and devote an entire afternoon to reading this one. But I thought it was a really, really good book. It was written very well. The characters are interesting. There's a lot of relatable life things that happen, and I can see why it topped some of the best lists last year and was also on the New York Times bestseller list. My third book I read this month was The Lost Story by Meg Shaffer. It's another one that I saw a lot of book vloggers and bloggers talking about with their best of 2024 list. And it was presented as kind of an adult read for adults who grew up reading Narnia. I definitely see that as far as the plot and maybe how the world is built. But this one was almost a DNF for me. And if you don't watch book vlogs very often, DNF means did not finish. I just found it to be really kind of boring. The plot is 2 brothers who went missing in West Virginia as kids, and they were gone for 6 months. No one knew what happened to them. They were missing in a forest, and miraculously they just showed up. So fast forward, and there's a lady, her sister is missing, and she also disappeared in this forest. So she reconnects with these 2 brothers and is thinking that they're the only ones that can find her sister. I don't really know like what more to say about it other than I just found it kind of slow. I didn't like any of the magical aspects of it. I didn't feel like it had that same feel that Narnia did. I loved Narnia as a kid, and I was really, really hoping that I would love this book too, but it just didn't work for me. I wasn't having fun reading it, and I really only skipped forward to the end just to kind of see what happened. But it's a little bit differently formatted. So you have your regular story, but then you also have some chapters that are kind of mixed in with the rest of the book where your narrator is talking to you. So I did kind of like that aspect of it, but overall, this one was a skip for me. Next, we have a picture book called No Cats in the Library. It's by Lauren Emmons, and it is one I picked up because our library system does a mock Caldecott. So that is where all of our children's librarians and other staff, they read several picture books throughout the year, and then they make a list and meet and talk about the pros and cons and why they think that they might be a Caldecott winner. So this was one of our library's honorable mentions for our mock Caldecott. And some staff members in my department were reading it, and I thought, oh, that looks really cute. I don't always read picture books, but every once in a while one will come along. And since I do some children's programming, it's always good to kind of have some that I might need to pull out for programs throughout the year. But this was so cute. I gave it 4 stars. I really like the colors and the artwork, which is what a Caldecott medal focuses on. But it's about this little cat, and he finds his way into a library. And like most libraries, there are no cats allowed. So the librarian shoos him out back outside, but he keeps finding his way back into this branch that he's going into. And one day, all the children that are coming to the library start reading to this little kitty. And when the librarian sees that, she's like, oh, you can stay because you're our storytime cat. So it's just a very cute little book. I think kids will love it. I'm going to open it up just so you can see some of the illustrations are very vibrant. It has like a orange and teal colored scheme to it, which I think is very warm and inviting. And then there's that cute little kitten, and all the little kitten wanted was a home. So he got that in the library, and I know I would love it if we had a library cat, but understand that sometimes allergies and things prevent that from happening. But if you have kiddos at home that are in this age range that they would like to read a story, I think this is a really good one for them.
Okay, so we have a quick car book review because I've been very busy and this is what I have time for, but I finished this beast, Onyx Storm, last week, and I have some thoughts. So if you're not familiar with this series, it's the Empyrean saga. I don't know if that's how you say it, but they're by Rebecca Yarros. They involve dragons and basically like a war training camp where these people learn how to bond with their dragons, ride their dragons, and then there's been lots of fighting. It's a very spicy romance in here between some of the writers, and it's been extremely popular. One of the biggest book series in recent times. So I really enjoyed book 1. I enjoyed half of book 2 and about a third of book 3. So we are on a big descent down with this series, in my opinion. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you what happened in the first 300 pages. There was a lot of talking. There was kind of an interesting moment between one of the characters and his mother. But overall, super boring 300 pages. And if I didn't want to know how this series ends, it's a 5-book planned series, I would probably just not have finished it. And I hate to say that because book 1 was great. I gave it 5 stars, and this one barely got 3. And even though I'm kind of hating on it, and I'm still giving it 3 stars, I did enjoy the last 200 pages, but you should not have to sit there and read 300 pages before the story gets actually interesting and good. And I just don't know what she's thinking. This book was a lot smaller than the last one. It was around 500 some pages, and book 2 was nearly 1,000. So I think she needs to edit some of this stuff out if she wants to make it more interesting. And she obviously can write. It's just, it's taking so long these days in her books to get to the point. But overall, I think this was a huge disappointment, and I'm hearing a lot of other people saying that too, so I don't think I'm alone in that, but I'm also hearing a lot of people saying it's one of the greatest things that they've ever read. So reading is subjective. You may love this, you may hate this. It was almost a do not finish for me, and probably would have been if I wasn't already invested in the series, but I like the ending. I like the twist at the ending. I like some of the twists with the dragons. If she can maintain that in book 4, I think that would be fantastic. But to be honest, this series probably doesn't need to go on too much further. We should just wrap it up. And I am assuming that it is just going on and on and on because it's a money grab. And I hate to say that, but that seems to be what happens with a lot of fantasy series. So, unpopular opinion maybe for me here, but this was about 2.5 to 3 stars. If you're not already invested in the series, I say don't waste your time. And then finally, this will likely be my last book read this month. We Used to Live Here. Absolutely fantastic. Way better than the last book I talked about. So this one is for all of you creepy haunted house horror lovers. And there's a couple that buys this house, and it's like a fixer-upper type of house. So they move in, and some really strange things start to happen. There's a couple with their kids that show up on the porch, and they say, "This used to be our house, and we just wanted our kids to see the place." Well, they have a hard time getting these people to leave, and no matter what they do, these people have some excuse. The weather is bad, we can't go because of the bridge is out, etc., etc. And weird things start happening. The main character, her name is Eve, she starts thinking that she's seeing things in the basement. The dog starts acting funny. Her partner that she bought the house with may not really be her. She sees people in the woods that tell her that there's something wrong with the house and she needs to get out. So this book was very suspenseful. It's one of those that you want to sit and you want to read it all at once. I wasn't able to do that, so it did break up a little bit of the flow of the book and the suspense, but it's I think a really excellent tense story. And there's also this extra stuff going on, and there's a little like Morse code puzzle in the book that is pretty cool. And once you get to the end, you think you know what happened, but you might not be totally sure about that. And I think I know what happened, but I would be interested to know if other people had come to the same conclusion, which I don't want to tell you what it is, but if you've read this book, tell me in the comments what you thought the ending was and if you liked it. I thought it was really good, and I believe they're making it into a movie, which should also be pretty good if they do a good job with it. But this was this author's debut. His name is Marcus Kliewer. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but I think he is running out of the gate almost a 5-star read, not quite, 4.5, and one of my favorite books so far this year. Definitely my favorite book I've read during February. So there you have it. I just did some really quick reviews this month. I didn't read as much as I did last month, but also February is a shorter month. I hope that you enjoyed these, and I will be back in March to go over all my March reads. So thank you for watching. Let me know what your favorite book was of February and what I should read. Just leave me a comment and let me know what I should read next. Thanks. Bye.